Hey everyone, it's me, Man. This video will be going live on December 25th, Christmas Day. Now, I know, not necessarily everyone celebrates Christmas. Cerebro and Zeeks, I don't know what they celebrate. So we're having just a non-denominational holiday party together right now. And we wanted to put out this video for you guys today, just in case, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Maybe you can't see everyone you'd really like to on the holidays. So you could play this for however long this video turns out to be, maybe half an hour, somewhere in the range of half an hour to an hour. And we can just sort of talk, have a nice conversation on Christmas Day while I blitz. I should actually start blitzing. That would probably help me out a lot. But I decided, what are we going to talk about today? Because, Cerebro and Zeke, they're not that talkative. They don't have that much they really wanted to say to you. So I was saying, at first, I'll talk a little bit about college and what my college life was like. But the problem is I really don't have any good stories about college because the fact that I didn't see that many people at college. I am a biology major and a creative writing minor. I was taking a biology, chemistry, and physics class, and then I was also taking a creative writing and a film analysis class. So I sort of had, the science side, the art side, but there's not that much to talk about because really I'd wake up, go to the Zoom for the class. I'd go down to the cafeteria. The cafeteria was takeout. They had different stations you could go to, and you point the food and be like, I want this. And then the server behind it would scoop it up for you in a little box, and you'd take it back up to your room. You could eat outside, but really I ate in my room most of the time because it was pretty crowded outside, and it was cold outside later in the year and stuff like that. But so really I ate by myself. I did most of my classes by myself. The only things I did with people is I would see occasionally some friends at the gym. I did go a couple times, tried to not get the freshman 15. But I did go to, I participated in the gaming club there. And they had a Nerf competition that I did go to. And they'd actually sanitize the guns in between each time everyone used them. That was kind of fun. But really, that was about it. That was the extent of my experiences at my college for this semester. Hopefully, it only goes up from here. But that's it. I didn't have that much to talk about. So today I want to talk to you guys about something else that I really love a lot. Not Reese's Pieces. I really love board games. So you guys actually can't see it on the camera, but back here I have a board game shelf. I'm going to pull off a few today. Actually, this actually fell out. This is a card shuffler. Look at that. Isn't that kind of exciting? Dragon Shield card sleeves. This is the real deal right here. If you want card sleeves, Dragon Shield. I'm a big fan of Unmatched. I think it's an awesome board game. It's so well designed. And well, I'll tell you the real awesome part in a second here. So take a look at the box. The art's really good on it. Here's one set. This is just they do a lot of non-licensed characters, and they do a lot of licensed characters. So this one has Medusa, Sinbad, Alice, and King Arthur in it. They did a Bruce Lee set, and they have a Jurassic Park set right here with the Raptors and Muldoon. And they're doing a couple more Jurassic Park theme sets. And it's this really cool dueling game where, let me get some of the pieces out so I can actually show you. It's really cool because it's a super simple game. It's really easy to get into. The only thing you have to worry about is you have the little figure moving across the board. And then you have the little deck of cards. So let me pull out. So I'll show you Dracula. So I keep them in this little card box just because I have so many of them. I try to keep track of them. So right here, we have Dracula. Pull out his little figurine. Oop, we just won our first Blitz battle. let me move on to the next Blitz battle. But here, you guys can take a look at Dracula right there. That's his little... Wow, my camera actually does a really good job of showing you guys Dracula right there. Holy cow. Each character comes with their own little figurine. As you can see, Dracula's figurine right here. Let's see, do I have anyone good? I'm probably going to lose these. It's the mercenaries. Whatever, we'll just send them in. So, Dracula. And then each character comes with a little deck of cards, and this is it. So you have your character card, and this will tell you, like, this is how much each character has their own power. For example, Dracula, if he starts next to somebody, he can attack them for 1, and then he gets to draw a card, sort of like Dracula will attack people and drain their health. And then you have this big deck of cards, and you'll draw 5. And then essentially, these are just a bunch of different actions you can do. Like, you have attack cards that are red. Do I have any defense cards here? You have little action cards that are yellow, and they're like, it allows Dracula to do something special, like he can teleport somewhere or something like that. But as you can see, there's really good art on these cards and stuff like that. Here's another one. Like, the art is super good in Unmatched. It's just really awesome stuff in Unmatched. Very, very high production quality. That's a big thing with board games. I like when there's some good production quality. Not that I get too nitpicky about it, but like when a game looks good, that's a big sell for me. So Unmatched is a very clean game, and it's really fun. And if any of that looked appealing to you, they're actually adding 3 Marvel sets to the game. They just recently announced that there are 12 Marvel characters coming to the game, and it's like Ghost Rider, Cloak and Dagger, Miss Marvel, Black Widow, Black Panther, Winter Soldier, Squirrel Girl, Daredevil, Elektra, Bullseye. I mean, it's Luke Cage. I mean, it's an awesome. They're adding a bunch of Marvel characters to the game, which is so cool. It's just a really well-designed game that is super simple to play, but it's like a very simple game, but then each character has their own unique spin on the game, because again, that's it. That's all you do. You move around the little board with your singular character, and you just play attack cards on the other person. Super straightforward. But then each character, like Bruce Lee, has cards that let him move again, or Medusa will attack somebody if she starts to turn them, because it's sort of her gaze on them and stuff like that. Or there's Invisible Man, and you can teleport around the map and stuff. So there's just super cool stuff in the game. Really awesome game. I love Unmatched. And they pump out sets for this. It's so good, man. I love Unmatched. Let me do another game for you guys. So first up, we have Cockroach Poker. So this game, oh, my mercenaries lost. Who could have thought? Hold on, let's queue up another Blitz match first. Who do we? I assume they were gonna lose that. It's whatever. We should get like half credits for losing or something like that. Like, I don't know. Or if we got a drop tier button, that'd be nice. I should build a Ravagers team just so I can drop tiers with them. All right, let's see. All right, I think that's my best shot. All right, so here's Cockroach Poker. This is a really fun sort of family game right here. It's a game about bluffing. Essentially, there's 8 different insects, and you're trying to give people insect cards. So you have people playing, and you'll pass the card to someone and be like, this is a frog. And they'll have to guess, is it a frog on the card, or is it not a frog on the card? And so they have to look at the face down card and be like, And then if say it is a frog and they say it's a frog, then you have to take the card. If they guess correctly, then you have to take the card. If they guess incorrectly, then they have to take the card. And then the way it works is, if they get 4 of any one animal, that person loses the game. So essentially it's like you have 9, I think it's called houses. I don't really know normal playing cards, but you have like stink bugs, cockroaches, frogs and stuff like that. And you're trying to get 4 of them in one person's sort of hand, but you always have to lie when you pass it them. So say, the person has 3 frogs and you want to get them that last frog so they lose. How are you going to lie to them? Because they're going to be looking out for a frog to pass to them. So they're going to be like, no, I think you passed me a frog. And it's just very fun bluffing game. Very simple. Pretty cheap too. Big fan of Cockroach Poker. Here we have Decrypto. Big fan of Decrypto. It's a sort of, when were they using machines like this? I guess 60s, like 60s themed game. Essentially the way it works is you have 4 words. It's a 2-team game. The one team has 4 words in front of them. The other team has 4 words in front of them. And the way it works is each turn, one person on a team they'll get a message. They'll say like 1, 4, 3. And then they have to give a clue to their partner for them to guess 1, 4, 3 with their words. And so that should be pretty easy because both partners can see their words. So you always have to you want to make sure your partner gets the right order through the clues you give them. But the whole time the enemy team is going to be writing down the clues you're giving your partner as well. And then eventually the enemy team is going to start guessing based off of the clues you give, and they will have an idea of what the words are based on the clues you have given throughout the game. So it's a game of you're trying to give the hardest clues you can to your partner to have them still guess the words correctly, because you don't want the enemy team picking up on the clues you're giving to the partner and then guessing what your words are based on the clues you've given throughout the game. So, say you have apple, maybe you'd use round or something like that. And then another word, you use red, or then you use tree or something like that. And eventually the enemy team's like, and then maybe another round you use the clue leaf. And so the enemy team's like, well, I think they're talking about that one word, that apple, that they've been hinting at throughout the rest of the game. So it's sort of this fun game of like guessing and trying to use hard clues. But if you use too hard of clues and your own partner can't guess it right, then you get punished. It's just a fun game of sort of, it's like I can't think of what, but it's a fun game. I enjoy that a lot. This game, I bought this on sale on Amazon. It's Monsters Mayhem. It's D&D themed. I didn't really think much of it, and it's really been a hit. It's just this really simple game where you'll pick a character, and then they each have their own little deck of cards, and you'll just play a card that says hit this person for 3 damage, or heal yourself for 2 damage, or draw another card. It's real simple, but it's really like wacky too. Like you'll have cards that say everyone switches their health, or you have cards that say attack this person for like 4 damage, and the max health in the game is 10, so that's a lot of damage. Or everyone has to dance, or they take 2 damage. It's a pretty wacky fighting game, but we always have a good bit of fun with that. This one is a brand new game I just got, and it's sort of a guessing game. It was rated Game of the Year last year, I believe, for a party game. 2018 best party game from the Dice Tower, which Dice Tower, if you guys don't know, pretty big in the board game industry. So what this game is you'll pick a card and it has 5 words on it. Like in the example right here, it says thunder, chocolate, snow, tie, and wind. But it'll be facing everyone else. So one person draws the card, they face it to everyone else, and then they'll pick a random number, and then that'll be the word they're assigned for that round. And essentially everyone gets to write down one word as a clue. But here's sort of the gimmick. If anyone, before they give the clue to the guesser, they all have to show each other their clue. And if anyone wrote down the same thing as the clue, then it gets cut, and the guesser can't see the clues. So say, for example, right here, people wrote down milk, white, sweet, dark, hazelnuts, and Belgian for the clues for the person to guess chocolate. Let's say 2 people wrote down milk, then the guesser wouldn't get to see the milk, so they'd be down a couple of clues. So it's a kind of interesting game where you're trying to write down clues, but you're trying to think, well, what would the other person write down as a clue? So kind of a fun game right there. Really simple, and it's a co-op game. So essentially, one person guesses, then it circles around to the next person. You just do that 13 times, and you're like, "Ooh, I got 13 out of 13 as a group, so that's really good." Or we got 7 out of 13, so we didn't do so hot. So it's a fun game, really simple game, pretty cheap too. Again, because there's not a lot to. Honestly, you could just make this yourself if we're being real. But big fan of that game. So let's pull out another game. I don't know. This is a Marvel game, but ever since Unmatched announced they were doing a Marvel set, I've kind of lost interest in this game because I liked it because it's Marvel, but it's really clunky. There's a lot to it. It's easy to forget about things. The rules are. It's a simple game, but there's just so much going on. It's easy to forget about things. So I'm kind of moving away from this, but I don't know. They did just add Ant-Man. I like Ant. Okay, well, I'll just show you the game first. So this game's Marvel Champions. It's a big game. It's a LCG, a living card game as they call it. So they continuously release new sets for you to pick up. But it's not like a collectible card game like Pokemon where you get random cards. Every month or so they release a set pack like the Ant-Man pack, and you'll pick up the Ant-Man pack, and then you'll have Ant-Man. So that's the problem. The game gets a little pricey, every month or so, probably spending like $13 to pick up a new card pack. So I'd say that, and I don't really think they're worth $13. Like I did pick them up because I really enjoyed the game, but you're getting like 40 cards for like $13. It's like technically they're well designed and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's pretty pricey. But this game's kind of cool because how it works is you'll pick a hero, and then you'll just beat up a villain essentially. And it's kind of interesting because what was really its big selling point, I have these fancy cases for each of the cards because I was big into the game. But I'll show you this. So I'll show you with Black Panther, for example. Well, let me pull out Black Panther. Actually kind of interesting because we're playing with the Wakandans right now. So as you can see, there's the Black Panther card right here. But what's interesting is every hero in this game has their hero sign and their alter ego side. So you can also be T'Challa. So it's really cool, and it's one of the only games I've ever seen that has this unique gimmick where the hero's alter ego and their superhero form both play into the game. So for example, Black Panther can do like some king stuff as his T'Challa form, or he can hit harder when he's Black Panther. You know, like Spider-Man can craft some tech when he's as Peter Parker, but in his hero mode, you know, he can sort of sense danger coming and stuff like that. And then they have certain cards that only work depending on what form you're on. Like as Spider-Man, you can play Aunt May as a card, but it only heals you if you're currently Peter Parker. So it's a very interesting gimmick that I've never seen in a board game before. Sort of, you know, taking the alter ego aspect of heroes and really making it a big deal and really crucial to the game. The only problem with it is there's just a lot to keep track of, because, you know, you're playing your own cards. The villain, it's a game where you're going against an AI villain, and they sort of have a deck, and you'll pull out the top card. This is what the villain does this turn. But it's a lot to keep track of, because then the villain has their own special powers, and you have to keep track of your powers. And, you know, if you're playing with somebody else, they got to keep track of their powers, and you have to draw these cards, and then you'll play all these cards out in front of you, and they can all be used each turn. And that's the problem with the game right there. Really, the big selling point was Marvel, but ever since Unmatched has said they're going to start doing Marvel stuff, I'm like, well, they're just going to do Marvel but better. I'll show you one of the villains cards just for fun. They did a really cool Green Goblin. They have he will build up an empire as Osborn, but then he'll switch to Green Goblin and start hitting you really hard. So you have to balance both sides of Green Goblin and stuff like that. You know, really cool stuff they do with this game. It's very innovative. I don't know. I just struggle with it sometimes. Here's an example. Here's Taskmaster right there. So as you can see, you know, they have the red value. That's the amount of attack they do, and then they're also trying to go through with this scheme. You know, it's a fun game. I don't know. It's very pricey. You know, and I don't play board games. Like I really like board games, but I really don't get to play them, especially now with the pandemic. I really had a lot for college, and I don't get to use them in college because of the fact that board games aren't really good for a pandemic. I really haven't used a lot of the characters I have right now. I just have a lot of stuff for the game. I haven't played it a lot. I don't know. And they release stuff. So, I don't know. It's just a big investment. So Marvel Champions, I've definitely been drifting away from as time goes on. Especially because one thing big thing that gets me in board games is a lot of the time they'll reuse art. I'm not a big fan of when people reuse art. It saves a lot of time because, you know, then the art team doesn't have to, you don't have to hire artists to draw art for all the cards in the game. They just rip it from comic books. But I'm a sucker for a consistent art style. When everything looks like Unmatched, everything just looks good. Like, it looks like paintings. Everything looks so good in Unmatched. And the Marvel Champions, you have like some ugly card art they pick sometimes. I'm like, man, what'd you guys do with this? Like, come on now. Like, I don't know. I really wish, and like everyone has the same, like every character has like energy cards in their deck, and each character shares the same art for the energy cards. I'd like it if they had unique energy art for each deck and stuff. I don't know. Some parts of the game I think are kind of, you know, especially $13 for like a 40, 50 card deck. Like, come on now. I could pay for we could get some art on here. So, where I bring this game. It's actually 30 years old. Not this copy. This is the 30. It's a reprint, but this is called Survive. People love Survive. I'll show you the back of the box. That's easier. So if you look at the back of the box right here, take a look at that. That's an island right there. You have a bunch of hexagon tiles, and then you have like four players on the island, and you have your own little society. You have like your own, each person has 9 little people on the island, and essentially this island's collapsing, and everyone has to get off the island into boats and shit and get away to some farther away island. So it's this really quick game of like you're trying to push people off boats, trying to get on boats, trying to get to the land, but people are pushing you off boats, and then every turn the ground's crumbling beneath you, and like sharks are coming out of the water and eating people, and there's sea monsters like killing everyone and stuff like that. It's just this really fun, crazy, pretty simple game. A big fan of Survive, so you know, I really do like Survive, and they have a cool expansion set that lets it be 6 total people playing the game. I don't know, it's just really hectic. Everyone always enjoys it when they play it. A little brutal though, not for the faint of heart, I'll tell you that much. All right, next game. New match. Let's start a new match. I'll show you, but this is my greatest. I don't know what you'd call it. It was a mistake in life. It was a mistake. Well, I don't know. Was it a mistake? I did kind of spin it around. All right, anyways, let me show you. Dice Masters. Take a look at all this. All these cases are filled with dice. Hold on. Put that off this side. Dice Man. These are binders full of cards for Dice Masters. So Dice Masters was a collectible dice game. So instead of cards, you'd open up packs. Well, they'd have a card, but each card had their own associated dice. So let me show you a bit of this. Right now, here's an example. Here's a page in the book. You guys can see this. As you can see, different heroes and stuff like that on there. Oh, dropping some. Oh, I should auto this too, so that way I actually run through this Blitz battle. But they'll have cards. Ugh. Associated dice with them. Let me set some of this down so you guys can actually see it. Oh. Even or not, I'd actually cut down pretty heavily on the masters. Oh my goodness. Alright. Better look at these. Alright, so first page right here. They have, as you can see, the top there's Thanos. So each card has their own little gimmick right there. And then they all have their own associated dice. And they did a DC, Marvel, TMNT, Dungeons and Dragons. They did a lot of these. And I picked up a lot of them. This game sort of, they're still releasing it, but it was really past its prime. Here, you can take a look at this. So see, look, you see all these dice in here for characters and stuff like that. And I labeled them. Actually, these labels aren't accurate anymore because I downsized. You can see the back, there's some dice. So each card has its own unique dice associated with it. And if you've ever played Magic the Gathering, where you summon little minions, or Hearthstone, or any online game where you play a minion, and the minion goes out and they'll attack each other. Essentially, it's like that, but instead of it being a set minion, it's a dice you roll. And it has 3 different sides that have different power levels. So it has a little bit of like dice rolling to like Magic the Gathering or something like that, but with a Marvel theming. And let me pull out some of these dice so you can get a look. Really, the dice look good. The dice do. Let me show you. Here's a fun one. Here's a fun one. This is Kitty Pryde's. You guys see that? Kitty Pryde's, yeah, it's sort of like a... Oh, let me face it so it's facing up for you guys. See, that's like Kitty Pryde going through a wall or something like that. Where's another fun one? Here's Wolverine's. He has like a little slash mark. And these numbers are essentially their damage and their defense, because like you get different sides. Like this has 8 attack on this side of Wolverine. Ooh, 8 attack. You can't really see it, but you'll just have to believe me. And this side only has 5 attack and stuff like that. So there's different sides of the dice and stuff like that. I have a lot of this. I downsized pretty heavily. I've actually been meaning to sell. I essentially what. On eBay, there was a guy, because again, this game's kind of older. There's a guy on eBay who'd sell like $30, and he'd sell like everything from a set. So I was like, well, $30, that's a lot of stuff. I was like, man, that's a good deal. It really was. He gave out a ton of stuff for like $20, $30 for each set. And like, man, like you can get the whole set for $30 when originally it was $1 per blind pack. So I did buy quite a few sets. Really the problem was, it's what I fear with Marvel Champions. So I'd like to think I learned my lesson with Dice Masters. I had so many. Like I'd be like, you want to play Dice Masters? And be like, well, it's what I just had to do for you guys. Like, boom, pull out this stack of thousands of dice and hundreds of characters. And you're like, I don't even know where to start. Like, what do I pick? Like, how do I even do one? Like, so I downsized pretty heavily. Still a lot of them, but I got rid of a lot of the characters I did. Like I had like 6 different Captain. I got rid of a lot of it. So yeah, and again, this is something I don't play as much as I'd like. Because it's like it's fun. It's like Magic the Gathering, but you're rolling dice. So I'm a big fan of Dice Masters. It's something that piques your interest. But hopefully I'll be selling my extras on eBay at some point. I was going to do that over Christmas break, but like still a pandemic going. I'll probably do it over the summer. But they're also pretty cheap on eBay. You can get full sets for a pretty good price. And it's a fun game. I gave some of my extras to my younger cousin too, because he really liked it. The one time we played, fun game, and the colorful dice make it pretty fun to play too. Like, oh yeah, I'm rolling. Like it adds a little more to it. Instead of just playing the Ant-Man card, you're like, I'm rolling the Ant-Man dice. Like that's kind of fun. So, let me put these back. Now, luckily in high school, what I did is I kept trying to of turned into a running joke. Everyone knew that I had thousands of dice, and it kind of worked in my favor, because it became like this running joke with everyone that Isaac has an obsession with dice and just loves Dice Masters more than girls and stuff like that. And I couldn't get a girlfriend, but I could get all this dice, and it really worked out for me in the long run. Like, kind of turned it into like a gag, like a funny joke. I don't think a gag. I think a funny joke, a running joke. So, you know, I made something out of it. All this Dice Masters. I do this some more someday. Well, I've definitely cut down on how many I used to pick up. Like, if there was a good sale, I'd pick up a board game. But I really don't that much anymore. You know, partially because I'm getting older. You know, college expenses. I'm like, ooh, starting to see those things. You know, I just have a backlog of board games that I don't play as much as I'd really like to. The pandemic too. It's like, man, these aren't even like. When am I even gonna play this? Like, realistically. Same vein. It's called Sushi Roll. So this is actually a spin-off of a game called Sushi Go, which is a card drafting game where essentially every turn you're gonna go around, you're gonna pick a card, next player is going to pick a card, you all pick cards, and then based on what cards you picked, you get points. You know, this card's worth this much if you also have this card's worth this much if you already have 3 of them, and blah blah blah, and you just keep circling around picking cards, trying to get the most points. So this game kind of put a spin on that, because my sister actually owns that version of the game. I liked it a lot, but I didn't want to pick up the exact same game for myself. So right here, this version of the game. Let me show you. So in this version of the game, instead of drawing cards, each turn you roll 8 dice, and then the dice determine what they're all worth. So it's this really cute game, family friendly, and it's kind of fun because it adds a bit of a physical aspect to the game, where instead of just, you know, having 8 cards laying in the center of the table and everyone picking a card, instead you're like rolling dice, and then you're like, oh, they're on little trays that move around the table, and it kind of adds a little bit more of like a fun aspect to it. I also have chopsticks too, so sometimes people will pick up the dice with chopsticks, like it's like a sushi, and it's like a real sushi. So pretty fun Sushi Roll, and it's pretty deep. I got this for like $20. Really, this goes on pretty heavy sale. That's a good game. It's a fun game. The problem with it is a little dark, you know, not for the kids. Although if you like the concept, they did a Scooby-Doo version that is for kids, and I hear it's pretty good. But essentially right here is you have 5 people going through a mansion. I'll show you the back of the box. You play down little room tiles and you move through this mansion. And then as you move through the mansion, like little spooky things will happen. Like it'll be like, draw a scare card or something. And they'll be like, oh, the walls are speaking to you, lose 1 sanity or something like that. So it's, you know, it's again, not for the kids, but they did do that Scooby-Doo version. But what's fun is after a certain point in the game, it'll be revealed that it's like you have 5 people going through the mansion, and then it's revealed that, ooh, one of you guys are the criminal, and nobody knows who the criminal is. And then, so what happens is after the criminal's revealed, you know, even you could be the criminal without knowing it. Like, it's sort of like it picks randomly who the criminal is. And then it moves into the second phase of the game. So the first phase, you're like going through the mansion, looting it. Then one person becomes the villain. And what happens is they get their own special villain rulebook, and they go to another room and they read it. And then the heroes get their hero rulebook and they read it. And then you all come back and you have your own special rules, and the villain's trying to do something, but you don't know what he's doing because you didn't get to read his rulebook. But he knows what he's doing because he read the rulebook and stuff like that. But the villain doesn't know what the heroes are trying to do to stop him. It becomes this fun sort of back and forth of like, ooh, like, who's going to be the criminal? And it's like, oh, like, it's kind of cool. Like, one of us is the bad guy, and they need to go to their room and read it by themselves. And it's kind of fun when that happens. Now, the only problem is, because of the fact the villain has to read the rulebook, and you can't help them, otherwise you'd know what they're trying to do, and you know, you could just stop them. Is, you know, generally I'm probably playing with people that are not as into board games design, which is fine, you know, totally cool. But if you have probably one of the lesser experienced people, and you're like, now go read this rule book by yourself and pick out all these specific pieces and follow these specific rules, it's a little intimidating. So that's the problem you run into. Sometimes the person that doesn't quite know a lot about board gaming gets the villain card, and then they're like, oh, So that's the problem I run into with this. But the Scooby-Doo version looks pretty good though. Kickstarter does stuff for video games, but Kickstarter also does a lot for board games, and I have 2 Kickstarter games on the way. One of them actually should be coming really soon. I backed it not this previous, 2019 October, and I backed this game called Zombicide. My uncle has all of it, and I'm a big fan of it. Essentially, you have these survivors, and you just run across this board. There's like all these zombies, and you just roll dice to kill them, and you just move through the board trying to clear this special objective of each mission. Really fun game. They released a 2nd edition that I picked up through Kickstarter, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then I also did back something called Massive Darkness 2, made by the same people who did Zombicide. And it's sort of more of a fantasy spin on it, where you're playing as like a barbarian or a shaman, and you're sort of going through looting this dungeon and trying to go fight the special boss monster and stuff like that. So it's sort of like Zombicide, but a little more RPG-ish. I just really love the type of game like Zombicide, so I figured I'd also pick up the fantasy, sort of more RPG-focused version of it. So really excited for that. And when the Zombicide comes, a lot of boxes. It's going to be pretty crazy. Really excited for that. It's something I plan to play at college, but again, we need this pandemic to stop so I can play that. What are some other fun stuff? So Point Salad's kind of cool. It's a drafting game, similar to that sushi game I was telling you guys about, where the cards circle around and you each take turns picking cards. But what's interesting about this game is it's sort of like you're in a market, and every turn you draw a card. Like you can pick a card, like they'll have like a tomato card laying out, or a lettuce card laying out, or a carrot card laying out. But what's interesting is on the back of each card they have a special scoring thing. Like this one says for every 2 onion you get 2 points, or the back of this one says for every lettuce and onion you have, get 5 points. And so what's interesting is throughout the game you have to balance picking up, by default you don't score any points, but you have to pick up cards that tell you how you score. But at the same time, you have to be picking up the vegetables to score off of. So it's an interesting balance between picking the vegetables and then also making sure you're picking up scoring cards. And it's like, do I want to go for a bunch of scoring cards, or do I want to, sorry guys, minimize, hey guys, it's my home screen. Or do I want to go for a bunch of scoring cards, or do I want to, go for a bunch of vegetables and only go for 1 scoring card, but really max out on what I could get with that 1 scoring card? So it's a very interesting game, very simple, very easy for people to pick up, but people generally really enjoy that when I play it with them. So let me cue in. Let's do one more Blitz. One more Blitz with me, why don't you? I think I'm going to lose this one, but whatever. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Look how big this thing. Pick this up. It's like football, but like sort of more fighting. I played it once with my dad, and it just wasn't fun. We didn't like it. Now, luckily, I picked this up when it was sale, $20 on Amazon. Normally, that game when it came out was $100, so not that big of a loss. It was like $20. I'll probably try to play it one more time because we didn't play it fully through. I don't know, it just wasn't fun. So I'll probably try it one more time. These aren't that good. Okay, so this one, not for the kids, and there's no kid version of it. But this one's called Dead of Winter. This one's a zombie game. I won't show it much because, in case I was pretty scared of zombies as a kid, so just in case we have anyone petrified of zombies. This is sort of like you remember I talked about Zombicide? This is like Zombicide, but super serious. Essentially, you're a bunch of survivors in the, where is this, Alaska or something like that? You're in the winter somewhere, and you have to manage your base, and it's a worker placement game. So it's like you be like, oh, we need to protect the barracks, put people in the barracks, or we need to kill zombies, put people in the kill zombies area. And so you're trying to manage this base that's like crumbling around you. But the whole time you have one person who's sort of an imposter, and he's trying to foil. We need to be killing Domino. What are we doing here? But you have one guy that's sort of trying to foil your plans the whole time, and you have to figure out, who's messing with you, who's slowly destroying the base from the inside, while the winter is naturally already wearing away at the base. It's not a fun game. You get is pretty brutal too. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy the theme. Like, zombies scared me as a kid, so I get into zombie stuff. Like zombies, I can get pretty invested because I get pretty scared of it. So I'm like I get invested. It's a very serious game, and the theming I think is very good. It's not serious as in like there's a game called This War of Mine. Now that's like serious. This is more like gonna die to zombies serious. But it's just fun. Like it's kind of cool to have a more slower, serious game as opposed to most games I own are pretty quick, pretty fast. Here we have this game called 5 Minute Marvel. It's a spin-off of a game called 5 Minute Dungeon. I try to be careful to not pick up too many Marvel games because again, I like Marvel. But even at a certain point, it's like, man, I only need so many Marvel themed things. You know, you want to keep a diverse set of theming throughout your board game collection. But I picked this up over 5 Minute Dungeon because of the fact that the heroes each have special powers in this version of the game, so it makes it, in my opinion, better than the 5 Minute Dungeon game. But this is a really quick game. Excellent for the family as opposed to Dead of Winter. Flip this over. So essentially, you'll have these cards that come out, and they'll be like, I'm just going to show you one of the boss cards, but for example, they'll have like yellow, blue, and red symbols on them. And so you all have to be like, you all have a deck of cards in your hand with different symbols on them. And the way it works is if you see green symbol, like if the boss needs a green symbol to theme, you'll just play the green card down. It'll be like, boom, green card. And you just, as a collective, have to play down enough cards to fill up all the symbols on the character to move on to the next one. It's called 5 Minute Dungeon because you have to make your way through a deck doing that before 5 minutes are up. So, you know, it's a pretty simple game. You know, it's really it's color matching. See green, play down green. See red, play down your red card. But, you know, sometimes no one has a red card and you need to play a red symbol. So it's like, what do we do? What do we do? Somebody draw a card, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, 5 minutes, I gotta go quickly. So it's kind of fun. This game's kind of It's called Magic Maze. This game, the way it works is you're trying to run through this mall, but the way it works is everyone can only do specific actions. Like one person has the ability to move every character left, one person has the ability to move every character right, you know, etc., etc. And so the way it works is you can't talk while you play, but you have to move through this whole mall, and you have to work together with your special abilities without talking to each other. And you know, because sometimes you need to be like looking at the guy, you need to move up, but the guy who is looking up isn't paying attention. You're like, come on, buddy, but you have to like, move up. So it's kind of fun. It's a little intense, but big fan of that. A fun party game, also fun for the family, but involves a lot of communication, so some people struggle with that. But that will do it for the Come Blitz with me for Christmas. I will probably release another one on New Year's Eve, you know, just in case, you know, again, New Year's Eve parties, don't really want to be doing those right now. So, you know, in case you're just kind of hanging out at home alone, you wanted somebody to sort of hang out with for a bit, you can hang out with me, say through Christmas Day. You know, even if you don't celebrate Christmas, you know, you can still hang out with me today. And I hope whether today you're celebrating Christmas or not, you have an awesome day. And in conclusion, if you want my one board game, dueling board game, you want a fighting game, Unmatched. Pick up Unmatched. It is unrivaled in the market. Big fan of Unmatched, especially with Marvel coming. If you want to pick up a party game, probably Just One or Decrypto. Big fan of those ones. I really do like, or Cockroach Poker. And then if you want a more serious game, you know, well, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't played Dead of Winter. I played it. It might be Rose Tinted Goggles. Last time I played that was like 5 or 6 years ago. So I really enjoyed it when I played it that one time. And that's my uncle's copy. I actually bought it off of him because he was gonna get rid of it. But I just enjoyed it so much that one time we played it. I haven't played it since, so maybe not Dead of Winter. If you want one more game recommendation, Survive. That game where escaping the island. I really do love that game. It's always fun to play with family. You know, people usually enjoy that quite well. You know, I brought it over to my girlfriend's house once, and her family enjoyed it. So I will always be grateful to that game for that. And I just love Unmatched so much. There's so much cool stuff in that game. They have a Buffy the Vampire set coming out. I think it's out right now. So it's such a cool game. Really awesome stuff. But regardless, I hope everyone has a super duper awesome day. And I will see you guys soon in another Marvel Strike Force theme video. And Cerebro Zeeks, anything you want to say? They haven't been that talkative today. I think somebody had too much Sprite cranberry. Alrighty, guys. I'll see y'all later.